Hello there, John Siddique here from Authentic Living, and I've just finished my reading group in Bradford. It's Thursday again, and I thought I would just check in with you a little bit. We had such an astonishing reading group this morning, so last week we were missing a few people because we were just getting going and the word hadn't got out and spread around. Yet it was so exciting and kind of involving and kind last week that people have told other people about the group. And now we actually are kind of filling up a waiting list. We're completely full in all our chairs and things, and so it was just great to kind of have a group of people come together. And I was reflecting over the week and to the group today that, you know, usually when we meet together, we come together to talk about our stories and the pains that are troubling us, you know, the pain body, and this is happening, and my wife is doing this, and my husband is doing that. And sometimes I think we mistake the stories that we tell to each other. We think that's the kind of the currency of exchange, and yet what we really want from each other is just the being together, you know. This is kind of looking at it as kind of, you know, meditation teacher John. And so coming together in a book group where we have, or a reading group rather, where we, you know, we have a story that we're going beyond just kind of I like it and I don't like it, but just kind of thinking about why we might like something, why we don't like something, how the text works, and how it kind of connects to our own story sometimes, or how it's interesting to be introduced to a story from a completely different culture that we don't know anything about, hear different voices. Then that gives us a way of kind of having something to talk about that still allows us to kind of enjoy that kind of being together. And that's the real lovely flavour of this particular group in Bradford. And we've got people from so many different backgrounds just coming together, and I read aloud. The story we looked at today was The Miracle by Chimamanda Adichie. Efemelu grew up in the shadow of her mother's hair. The thick, long, black hair that drank 2 containers of relaxer at the salon, took hours under the dryer, and when finally released from pink plastic rollers, sprang free and full, flowing down her back like a celebration. "Is it your hair?" strangers would ask, and then reach out to touch it reverently. Others would say, "Are you from Jamaica?" as though only foreign blood can explain such bounteous hair that did not thin at the temples. Through the years of childhood, Efemelu would often look in the mirror and pull her own hair, separate the coils, will it to become like her mother's, but it remained bristly, growing reluctantly. Braiders said it cut them like a knife. And just such an astonishing story of corruption, power, on a kind of family level, of a kind of a young girl trying to kind of find her way amongst kind of all this stuff going on, politics of hair, politics of lightness of skin, of kind of how we get sort of trapped by the kind of the worlds that we can't control around us. Just absolutely fascinating. And then we looked at a poem, The Album of Dreams by Czeslaw Milosz. I have his collected poems here, or his selected poems rather, here. And Milosz, if you don't know Milosz, you know, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and was Seamus Heaney's favourite poet. And The Album of Dreams is fragmentary little poems, almost written in a kind of diaristic sort of way, about being forced to leave home when he was a child from Lithuania to Poland, and then on to America at the time of the Second World War. People often think that there's no Second World War poetry, but and so we tend to stick to the First World War with Owen and Sassoon and so on. But if you want to read about the Second World War and kind of how it affected ordinary people in a personal way, then Milosz is your guy. They ordered us to pack our things, as the house was to be burned. There was time to write a letter, but that letter was with me. We lay down our bundles and sat against the wall. They looked when we placed a violin on the bundles. My little sons did not cry. Gravity and curiosity One of the soldiers brought a can of gasoline. Others were tearing down curtains. These are big, big writers, and one thing we've begun noticing already, even just after 2 weeks of the book group, is that great writing is simple writing that communicates, that you really feel like you're meeting the people in them. And we're going to look at some non-fiction as we go along. We're going to look at some essays. We're going to look at lots of different kind of genres and styles. So we're not just sticking to short stories and poetry. So I'll keep on reporting in week after week and kind of letting you know what we're reading. I'm going to post some links down below so that if you want to grab the books, you can. And I've just got my coffee. And my own reading at the moment, should you be interested, is I'm reading James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time, which is just remarkable. Given the things that are happening in the world at the minute and the healing that needs to take place, Baldwin writes with love and compassion and honesty, just such incredible human honesty. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. Even though it came out in the 60s, this is probably one of the most relevant texts for things that are happening in the world today. If you want to kind of know the root of what's really going on with the kind of crazy stuff in politics and the news around the world. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. I'll love you and leave you, because I've got to record another video yet once I get home. I've promised I will do a video about reflection and journaling for the Mindful Living show, but I just want to say thank you to Waterstones Bradford being such beautiful hosts, beautiful venue. Thank you to Bradford Literature Festival for being incredible. Thank you, Georgina. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everybody on the team, for your incredible support. You've made life so easy for us, and the group is thrumming and beautiful. And thank you, of course, to the wonderful Royal Literary Fund, without who these groups around the country would not be happening. And thank you to everybody, of course, who comes along to the group. So it's lovely getting to know you all, to hear your reflections, and to keep surprising you, you know. So I hope you enjoy these selections. Back with next week with more. Lots of love to you. Take care.